Most people don't realize when they're being ruled, because their chains aren't on their wrists, they're in their chest. A glance, a cold silence, an insult that triggers rage. Suddenly, they're not thinking, they're reacting, and that's how power is lost. Not in war rooms or courtrooms, but in everyday emotions. They get offended when ignored. They get jealous when someone else shines. They panic when love is withdrawn. In those fragile moments, they hand over control to whoever triggered them. But there's another kind of person, the one who doesn't blink, who listens more than they speak, who doesn't react while everyone else burns. This person doesn't suppress their emotions. They master them. Because in a world where outrage spreads faster than truth, the one who owns their emotions owns the outcome. This is not about being heartless. It's about being unreadable. And these are the 5 laws of emotional power, used by spies, CEOs, war generals, and those who shape history behind closed doors. Master them, and no one will ever control you again. Law 1. Control yourself before you command others. Power starts where reactivity ends. A man who can't control his tone, his face, his anger, is not feared. He's forecasted. The strongest people aren't cold. They're calculated. They feel the storm, but they don't show it. Because if people can read your emotions, they can predict your decisions. And if they can predict you, they can control you. Think of a poker player who keeps the same expression whether he's bluffing or holding a royal flush. That stillness isn't emptiness. It's dominance. Or consider Queen Elizabeth I. Surrounded by treachery, constantly pressured to marry, to align, to conform, she remained a fortress. Emotionally unreadable, politically agile. Her silence was a statement. Her restraint was power. In contrast, look at those who lash out publicly. Leaders who rage on camera, partners who scream to be heard, bosses who can't hide their contempt. The moment they explode, they're exposed. Their vulnerability is on display for everyone to dissect. Self-mastery is not suppression. It's strategic concealment. So train yourself. Pause before reacting. Speak less than you feel. Let others expose themselves while you remain still. The one who speaks last often wins. Law 2. Use tension, not threats. You don't need to yell to create fear. True power doesn't roar. It whispers. Most people misuse fear, they overplay it. Loud threats, emotional blackmail, ultimatums. These create resistance, not respect. But the most powerful fear lives in uncertainty. It's the tension of not knowing what someone will do. Consider the quiet boss whose expectations are unclear. No yelling, just silence when you fail. A lingering pause after a mistake. You don't know what's coming next, so you prepare for everything. That's fear without force. Or look at historical strategist Tamerlane. He conquered empires with minimal bloodshed because the reputation of his cruelty did the work for him. He didn't need to be everywhere. People imagined his wrath and surrendered before he arrived. Fear isn't about cruelty. It's about presence. The fear you want to instill isn't terror. It's calculation. People should think twice before disappointing you. Not because you threaten them, but because they don't know what happens if they do. That's control. So speak less. React slower. Let your unpredictability do the talking. And remember this, the most terrifying sound is not a scream. It's the silence before it. Law 3. Give affection with intent, not frequency. Most people think love is power. They're wrong. Controlled love is power. Unpredictable love is influence. When you give love endlessly, it becomes background noise. But when you give it strategically, it becomes addictive. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, a pattern of unpredictable rewards that wires the brain for obsession. Casinos use it. Narcissists use it. But so do powerful leaders and lovers. Think of a partner who showers you with affection, then withdraws for a few days. You don't get angry. You wonder what you did wrong. You chase their attention harder. That's not manipulation. It's leverage. Even in politics, leaders like Winston Churchill gave passionate speeches and personal attention in rare doses. The public hung on every word because he didn't speak often, but when he did, it shook nations. So what's the law? Don't overvalidate. Reward behavior that serves your vision. Withdraw when needed to reset the balance. Let absence create desire. Your love is a currency. Don't flood the market. Be the exception in a world drowning in validation. When your affection is rare, it becomes priceless. Law 4. Guilt is a chain people build themselves. The most effective emotional control isn't done with force. It's done with guilt. But here's the twist. It doesn't need to be spoken. It needs to be felt. Make someone feel they've disappointed you. Not with words, but with silence. And they'll try harder to regain your approval than if you screamed in their face. That's the genius of emotional withdrawal. You don't accuse. You don't explain. You just vanish emotionally. And suddenly, they start explaining themselves to silence. This is seen everywhere. In romantic relationships where one partner pulls away without a fight. In leadership where a respected figure simply stops praising. In mentorship, when the guiding voice goes quiet. People don't fear punishment. They fear disconnection. They fear the loss of respect. Julius Caesar once famously spared his betrayers after winning civil war. Not to show mercy, but to make them live with their guilt. Some took their own lives under the pressure of unspoken shame. That's guilt without chains. And it works because it's invisible. So next time someone lets you down, don't argue, don't plead, don't explode. Just withdraw. Let them feel the space. Let them tighten their own chains. Law 5. Strategy over emotion, always. This is the final and most difficult law. In a moment of anger, we believe we're being real. But emotion isn't authenticity, it's exposure. Emotional truth may feel good, but strategic truth gets results. People who operate on emotion become reactive, predictable, and easy to manipulate. Think of an investor who panics during a crash. They sell low and regret it later. Think of a political leader who tweets out of rage, creating scandal from ego, not logic. Or a spouse who overreacts to every perceived slight, slowly destroying connection with uncontrolled sensitivity. Emotion narrows your vision. Strategy widens it. Look at Nelson Mandela. After decades in prison, he could have led with vengeance. Instead, he calculated. He united. He used emotional intelligence with precision, not passion, because vengeance would have destroyed what strategy preserved: power and peace. That's what most people don't understand. The ability to feel deeply doesn't mean you must act deeply. Write your emotional reactions, but don't send them. Feel the storm, but don't throw lightning. Let your mind decide what your heart only notices. Before you speak, ask, will this serve me next week? Will this expose me or empower me? Let others rage. Let others confess. You remain still. You don't win by being emotional. You win by being effective. Final thoughts. The world trains you to react, to seek validation, to prove yourself, to rage, to panic, to confess. But power belongs to those who pause, who listen more than they speak, who let the silence say what emotions would only sabotage. The 5 laws of emotional power aren't about being cold. They're about becoming unshakable. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward emotional truth. It rewards emotional control. And those who master both, they write the rules everyone else follows. If you've listened this far, you're already ahead of 95% of people. But this was only the beginning. In the next chapter, I'll reveal the 5 laws of social manipulation, how the powerful use empathy, identity, and illusion to shift entire movements without ever showing their hand. So subscribe now, turn on the bell, and share this with someone who's too easy to read. Because being unreadable, that's the new power.